let me ask the question this way. If you were to tell somebody that's in mid-career, right? Let's say they're 40, 45 years old. Maybe their business is 5 or 6 years old. Is there a strategy for them, even though they're going to work till they're 60 or 70 or however old? Is there something that you can step in to do that gets that process started that early?
Yeah. I think it was Stephen Covey who said, begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
And I think even when you're starting your business, there are things you can do to set yourself up for success later. And a good example that I've come across and I've seen with other exits that have gone wrong is that just making sure you have the right employment agreements in place.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have those in place and then that person becomes a key employee for your exit, you may have to pay them a lot of money later on to get them to sign a new employment agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes just like documentation, and the same thing with, buy-sell agreement, if you have other owners in the business, making sure that those are set up how they should be. And I think in the early years, maybe outside of 10 years from the exit, 5-10 years from exit is when you can start really doing some things to prepare yourself and prepare the business. But beyond that, you could, the agreements, business continuity plans, like what happens if something happens to you? Like if you drop dead of a heart attack tomorrow, do you want your clients or your customers to be informed? Do you want them to receive a text message? Do you want them to be it's like an as needed basis. Like even those little things, business owners have very clear ideas about what they want to have happen, who they want to step in to replace them in the interim while they find a permanent replacement. Those are all things that you could do really early on, and it's not expensive to do. It's not time consuming, but it really sort of helps protect your business so that if something happens to you before you plan to exit, there are things in place to make sure that the business value doesn't just crater to nothing.
Right. And the neat thing about having Ashley here is that as I've bought, sold, and owned a dozen businesses probably in my life: car washes, gas stations, convenience stores, woodworking, lots of commercial real estate, development of lots and land and house building and flipping. And I mean, I have a huge transportation company, so I have my hands in and have had my hands in all of those different businesses. And I can tell you that while I have bought and sold businesses and lost money and made money, for my overall portfolio, I have zero strategy for exit. So I'll just be, which is cool about.
Well, perfect. I'm glad I'm here.
That you're sitting here because I'm living proof. I'm 50 years old. I plan on work. They're going to find me dead behind a desk if I have my way, because I have no sense of retirement anyway.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't plan accordingly. And while I buy into a business and then I have an exit in a business, particularly on the real estate side, there's some long-term holds that I have, and then there's things that are going to be short-term, like development of lots. There's no long-term. I just come to work every day, try to make as much money as I can,
figure it out later,
and figure it out later, and that's worked for me so far. But as I was reading your bio, I thought, this might be an interesting conversation, simply because you have the exact opposite sitting across the desk from you that probably would be served by all this. At least I can attest that there are business owners out here who don't do this. And I'm going to assume most don't.
Oh, yeah. Most business owners are very much like you, where they're just, because you're focused on running your business, on growing, on doing the right things to keep the doors open, keep revenue growing. And it requires this mindset shift. And I think a lot of business owners, like everybody else, we procrastinate. And it's like, well, this isn't an immediate problem. It's like I'd like to do it. It'd be nice, but there's other fires I need to put out first. So it always sort of gets put off. But then the danger is that you get past the point of burnout, and let's say you're 65 and you're like, I should have exited. I should have sold this 3 years ago, or I needed to bring in my successor and train somebody. Because if you're going to do it right, depending on what your exit path is, someone else needs to come in and take over and be able to replace you so you can start to step back. And if you're going to do that well, it's going to require some time to do that.